Surely fantastic was friend in the new 7 seconds.
It's rare indeed that a person
Who plays at or watches his own team play at
the national or world headquarters of his sport, be it Wimbledon, Wembley or Lord's. The presentation behind me, and in fact the whole building, is a testimony to the day that Hitchin enjoyed such an occasion. On April the 3rd, 1993, David Marshall led the team in maroon and white out onto the sacred turf at Twickenham for the last Provincial Cup final. Although the game was eventually lost, I witnessed no feeling of dejection that day as the team and a horde of spectators and supporters milked the occasion for every minute till the very small hours of the following morning. This video is a tribute to the team and the personalities of that momentous occasion. Many people helped in terms of money sponsorship, hard graft and enthusiasm. And I would like to take this opportunity of thanking them all from the bottom of my heart for the contribution that they made, however small. The building behind me will forever stand as a shrine to that occasion, Hitchin's famous day at Twickenham. I hope you all will use the facilities to the full. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.
The Cup campaign started on Saturday the 19th of September when March came to King George's playing field. Hitchin eventually ran out winners 18-3. The Hitchin points came from tries from Sandy Forrest and David Marshall. The other 8 points came from Stephen Pike with a try and a drop goal, for which he duly won the Ugly Mug. The second round saw us travel to the coast to play Brightlingsea on what can only be described as the smallest pitch in England. The day did not start particularly well as we broke down on the way and had to get a second coach. We know that our travelling VPs will not forget the game, if only for the wonderful lunch they received afterwards. It was the only game we played in where we had to get a coach from the changing rooms to the pitch. Still, all's well that ends well, and with the final score at 35-3, all that remained was for Paul Broadhurst to be officially christened Spit. Round 3 saw us away again, this time in West London at Old Actonians. This has to be the toughest tie of the early rounds, and the story would have been somewhat different had it not been for the magic boot of Andy Smith and a man of the match performance by Ian Pringle. Still, with the final score at 24-18, we moved on to the next round. The fourth round definitely saw the most interesting clubhouse that we played at, last seen as a film set for the Adams family. The pitch had an average of a foot of mud all over, and once again we had to rely on points from the boot, this time Les, to get us through. Round 5 saw us off to the coast again, this time to Seaford. The game turned into somewhat of a rout with the final score 38-8. With quite a few travelling supporters, the home journey was loud to say the least. Comment of the day must have been the Seaford captain calling to the centres to get hold of that effing Hitchin fullback and slow him down. The reply came back, we effing would if we could effing catch him. Round 6 saw us at home to Barnet in front of a very large crowd. With the side finally starting to take shape, we were in good form for this match. It was a close game, although the 10-0 scoreline suggested that it may not have been the toughest in the competition. The stage was finally set for the final push, as more and more people started to believe that there was a chance we may make it to Twickenham after all, something that a few of us believers had been saying right from the beginning. Into the quarter-finals and a home tie against local side Datchworth. Once again, the game was a lot tighter than it should have been, with us eventually running out winners 8-0, thanks to a Smithy penalty and a Vinnie try. it was on to the semi-final at Nuneaton against Kidderminster, with TV coverage all the way.
It leaves us with Hitchin Rugby Club, who are just 80 minutes away from a cup final appearance at Twickenham. As South East champions, they take on Kidderminster Caroleans in the Provincial Insurance Cup semi-finals for junior clubs. The tie is being played tomorrow at Nuneaton.
Hedgehogs is their nickname, and they're positively bristling at the prospect of playing at Twickenham. Captain David Marshall spends his working life in Baldock for a firm supplying freelance computer consultants to large companies. He's been at Hitchin Rugby Club 14 years, apart from a season with Wasps in the mid-80s, where he experienced a first-class game. Until their cup run, Hitchin had been better known for their social approach to rugby.
Now, that doesn't always bode well for the rugby on the pitch, as people are more worried sometimes about the beer afterwards than the fitness. But there's been an attitude change this season, and obviously the cup game has concentrated the mind a little bit more, and the lads are really starting to take the fitness a bit more seriously, and it's starting to pay dividends.
It certainly did last weekend when Hitchin beat local rivals Royston in a merit table game by 50 points to 8.
We've got a fairly big pack, and so we have to try and keep the game fairly tight. We like to look at second phase ball in tight around the scrum, and then flick it open wide to the very quick wingers that we've got in Vince Donnelly and Ronnie Simons, who, given the ball at pace with a man to beat, I'd usually put my money on either of those two to win the game.
Vince Donnelly has scored 15 tries in his last 16 games. Yet at 37 years old, he started the season with the veterans in Hitchin's 5th team. Vince, though, is almost a sprightly youngster compared with David Marshall's second-row partner, Roger Cobley. He'll be 45 next birthday, and he's another who started the season in the 5th team but earned rapid promotion.
The old man of the team, Roger Cobley, who really does bring stability to the team. I mean, he's as strong as an ox, and any tight situation, any maul situation, if Roger's got a hand near it, then the ball's coming our side.
This week, Roger, who works for the local water authority, has been building up his strength digging holes to lay new water supplies in Hitchin. He's been a one-club man, giving 23 years service to Hitchin.
It's the first time for several years I've not actually captained one of the lower sides in the club, so I'm doing nothing at all but playing this year, which I've enjoyed. Every game I've played so far.
But what's the step up in level like from the 5ths to the 1sts?
I've got to stop drinking so much and get a bit fitter.
It's not quite social rugby in the 1st team.
After the game, not before.
Several of Roger's teammates are less than half his age, and he keeps a sense of humour over the ageist jokes.
I try and take it easy so they can keep up with me.
And he's confident Hitchin can win tomorrow's semi-final, so he can make it to Twickenham for the cup final in April, just short of his 45th birthday.
And let's hope he's right. We'll let you know in our news and sport bulletin just after.
Fullback Cecil Lee had an early run to test the opposition, later allowed in Kidderminster Caroleans to take the lead. From the kick ahead, Lee looked to have the ball covered, but the awkward bounce wasn't in his favour, and Tom Cartwright touched down in the corner. The conversion and a penalty gave Kidderminster a 10-0 lead, and then Hitchin hit back. They missed a penalty, but just before the interval, their forward pressure produced a try. The forwards combined to open up a gap for 37-year-old winger Vince Donnelly, who started the season with the veterans in Hitchin's 5th team, to go over in the corner. Les Jeffrey's conversion meant that they were only 3 points behind, trailing 7-10 at half-time. The try that turned the match came on the hour. Hitchin ran the ball from inside their own 22-metre line. Kidderminster seemed to have plenty of players coming into cover, but Donnelly dashed in from 75 metres to touchdown behind the posts. Jeffrey's conversion gave Hitchin a 14-10 advantage, but they hadn't finished. Rawling Simon scored another try in the last minute for a 19-10 victory that puts Hitchin in the Provincial Insurance Cup final at Twickenham.
started off, well, they just went mad in the first 20 minutes. There was very little we could do. We kept heads. We got an early break in the middle of the first half, and, well, that just seemed to be the turning point of the game. We started moving the ball forward in the forwards as we planned. We've been through training trying to do this. We started moving the ball forward in the forwards, and then it just all came together. Absolutely brilliant.
And Hitchin Hedgehogs now face Fleetwood in the Twickenham final on the 3rd of April.
Provincial Insurance Cup semi-final against Kidderminster. The cup is for England's junior clubs and the final is at Twickenham, so this was a big day for the Hedgehogs. Hitchin, in the maroon shirts, play their league rugby in Hertfordshire Middlesex 1, 7 levels below Northampton, and they didn't get off to a very good start when Kidderminster scored first. But the 700 Hedgehog fans who made the trip from Hitchin got behind their team. The forwards took control and winger Vince Donnelly scored the first of his 2 tries. Donnelly's second try was an absolute gem. Fullback Cecil Lee set him free. The Hitchin winger stepped onto his right foot to go past a tackle and they couldn't catch him. Give this man the freedom of Hitchin, give him a medal, anything you like. Great try. Even then, it was still very tense, and victory was only secured in the dying seconds when Rawling Simons scored to make it Kidderminster 10, Hitchin 19. The Hedgehogs were at Twickenham. The fans rushed on with club mascot Harry the Hedgehog. There were hugs, kisses and celebrations. The final at Twickenham is against Fleetwood on April the 3rd, and in the dressing room, even Harry the Hedgehog got a cuddle.
To rebuild the clubhouse.
We know we've raised around the £40,000 mark, but our expenses will be around 13,000 because we put a lot of effort into putting community activities together. The hedgehog face masks, the flags, the hats, the posters. Half of Hitchin is covered in maroon posters which have emanated from this office. And so we and all the tracksuits, blazers and all those things have all been an expensive item. But they're vital, I think, to the preparation of the team. The team has got to arrive at Twickenham in the best possible style so that the team is at its most relaxed and most comfortable and, frankly, in a situation where we want to put the team in a winning position.
The players warmed up with a 5-5 draw last Saturday in their local league match against London, New Zealand. Scrum half Rhys Owen, an RAF corporal who works as a technician at a base in Bedfordshire, is the only club member with experience of Twickenham. He's played there more than a dozen times for the RAF in service matches.
It doesn't really matter how many times you actually play there. You become just as nervous every time. And I think if you didn't have any butterflies playing at Twickenham, then you shouldn't even be there.
His main sport, however, is bobsleigh racing. He was in the British team selected for the Olympics in 1984 and earlier this year helped the RAF to second place in the Inter-Services Championship.
Yeah, the bobsleighing tends to keep you fit. You have to do a lot of training throughout the summer months. So it's quite beneficial to actually turn around and once you finish bobsleighing to carry on with the rugby. The speed and the strength are very important in the bobsleighing, and you find that it's quite beneficial then when you start passing the ball around.
When you have to miss rugby matches to go off on the bobsleigh, you take a bit of stick from the boys. They just call it sledging, I gather.
Yeah, sledging, yeah. They know how to wind me up as well, yeah. It's, sledging something you do on a tin tray down the mountainside. We don't go down on a tin tray, obviously.
Project engineer Vince Donnelly is the man whose 2 semi-final tries put Hitchin in the final. He's 32, yet pretended to be 37 for the whole of last season, so he could play with the veterans in the 5th team. He was persuaded back into the first team reluctantly.
I've been down in club for about 14 years now, and I decided that I'd slowed down sufficiently to go and play elsewhere in the club. So I was enjoying myself in the Hedgehogs last year, playing with first team players from 14 years ago, so the standard was quite good, if slow. And this year a friend of mine wanted to come training, so I took him training, and David, the captain, took it as a signal of my enthusiasm to play and picked me.
And he's gone on to score 21 tries, including those vital 2 in the semi-final victory over Kidderminster.
That was fantastic. The second try in particular, it was constant pressure at that stage. At that stage, we didn't know if we were going to be able to pull it off, and to be able to score, and it was just tremendous. I mean, still dream about it now.
Second row Roger Cobley at 45 will be one of the oldest to play at Twickenham, with 19-year-old flanker Danny Thompson, in his first season of senior rugby, one of the youngest. The dressing room where Will Carling and the England team change has been allocated to Hitchin, who'll have plenty of maroon and white support.
There's a hat. Any more balloons?
Before Captain Dave Marshall leads out his players, the club's under-10s will be playing Fleetwood youngsters in a curtain raiser to the Cup final.
Yes, Twickenham, here we come, and I'll be following Hitchin with reports over the weekend and on Monday for their Cup final appearance.
Normally, he's an 18-stone Hungarian chemist in Potter's Bar. But on Saturday, Peter Tasco takes to the turf at Twickenham, the home of English rugby. His team, the Hitchin Hedgehogs, has against the odds secured a place in the final of a tournament for more than 500 junior clubs. For Peter, it's an opportunity he never dreamt he'd achieve.
I don't think when I ever started playing at the club 13 odd years ago that I'd ever be playing at Twickenham with Hitchin, and it's certainly something to look forward to. I think all the lads are really looking forward to it now as well.
How much excitement is there in the team about going to Twickenham?
Well, there's certainly a buzz. The training sessions have been going really well. The last couple of games, we feel like everything's started to click together, and really there's a lot of excitement now, and the boys are really looking forward to it.
At the training ground, it's all about the chemistry of the team. It takes a dedicated sort to turn out unpaid on a wet April evening just to get exhausted in the dark. But the Hedgehogs have no qualms about discomfort if it means making the team for Twickenham.
I heard one of the lads saying that he's actually found the centre of the universe now, and it really is just a momentous occasion for him. We went down to have a look at the ground on Monday and wandered around the pitch, and the guys were just gobsmacked as they walked around. We've been down to watch internationals there. Every person who's been there as a rugby fan has sat in those seats and said, "Oh, I wish just one opportunity to play on the pitch," and we've been given that opportunity.
The success of the Hedgehogs in reaching the final has captured the imagination of Hitchin. The club expects around 5,000 people to make the journey down to London. Fleetwood are the favourites, but that won't put off the Hedgehogs. Their club colours of maroon and white were chosen to strike fear into the hearts of their opponents.
It's maroon and white all around the town at the minute. Everyone's talking to us. We've got guys flying in. We've even got one guy flying in from Japan. We've got a number of our ex-service players coming back from Germany for the game. We've got a guy coming in from police. It's absolutely superb.
One of the Hedgehogs, Rhys Owen, has enjoyed sporting success before. He was the brakeman on the British bobsleigh team, but he'll be hoping things don't start going downhill tomorrow. Roger Farrant, Look East, Hitchin.
Yes, good luck to the Hedgehogs. Now, Stuart's been our royal correspondent. Insurance Cup final on Saturday, and the team has already had a preview of what they can expect on the big day, as Stuart Jarrold now reports.
Smart new tracksuits and a luxury coach provided courtesy of Luton Town Football Club. First stop, morning coffee at the Tailors, where the team was kitted out in new blazers, trousers and shirts, emblazoned with the club's hedgehog motif.
Pretty sharp.
A quick brush down before the official team photograph.
Right. Can the gentleman standing behind, can you just have one final sort of squash up for me? Thank you very much.
After the coffee, what rugby players prefer best. A local brewery has come up with a special hedgehog bitter to celebrate the final.
Oh, this beer's lovely.
Then it was on to HQ, scene of the World Cup final only 16 months ago.
And Opa Hengawi gathering it in two-handed. The Australians trying to roll it up the side. England in trouble here. It's a try.
A number of the Hitchin lads will be playing their last game at Twickenham on Saturday.
Everybody ready and building for the big occasion.
This is big. Whoa.
Most of the Hitchin players had never before even visited Twickenham, let alone tread the same hallowed turf graced by rugby's biggest names.
Hitch is actually smaller than ours. We'll cross it.
Yeah, but Fleetwood going to find it pretty big, aren't they, when you think about it?
Yeah.
The difference is that the stands are just so big. It's the actual impact of this pitch with the size around it.
Twickenham's capacity is nearly 60,000, and about 20,000 are expected for the biggest day in the Hedgehogs' history.
You just got to get it out in your mind, just get out there and produce the goods. You've just got to turn up with the right attitude to play rugby.
And will the Hitchin Hedgehogs be lifting a trophy on Saturday? Stuart Jarrold will have more on their big match in our Friday Sports Roundup.
Send this to Anglia News, please.
We got sound on this. No pressure on this shot, tell me. Camera's on you then. Partner! Hang it down there. That's out of bounds. I think we played a 10th on the next time round. Oh my God. I aim for the fairway over there. It's a good shot in.
You almost missed that as well.
For the line of your nose, that was.
Les, you got it away, mate.
Oh, yeah. Go on, partner. Mind the people down there, Sandy. Go on, partner. Stop it. Oh, you're the man. Lovely shot into the bunker. Yeah, that's going to be embarrassing. Into the bunker. Lovely shot. It was a bunker. Cameron and Nick Davis found the bunker. Here we go, Cappy's hard. Microphone, so it's out like all this bit. We're advertising that Marlborough hat like that. Got to admit, I look good so far, don't I? No. Right there. Right there. There's hands supposed to be in front of me. Oh, fucking lovely shot. What's your Les got on your legs? The crowd have gone quiet. It's more like the intergreen in one. Play well, gentlemen.
You gonna let us through?
Only a little one. It's not in trouble.
Size isn't everything, Alex.
Nice and straight. Full of
80-year-old men get around in 80.
We'll let you have it. It's on camera. You raise that one.
Don't, I want that. Fiver, I'll give you anything. How much do you want?
Jeremy Beadle will pay £1 for that. I'll pay you £2 grand. You wouldn't be the...
Where'd you pull that one from?
Oh, it's never got that.
music at full blast to psych up the team as the coach turned into Twickenham. Of the 512 clubs who started out in the competition last September, Hitchin had made it to the final. Out on the pitch, Hitchin under-10s were in action against Fleetwood under-10s, and they won 10-0, but it wasn't to be a lucky omen for the senior side. The official photograph that will hang proudly in the clubhouse for decades to come. And minutes to kick off, the pressure building up.
Lots of tension building up in the changing room. We just want to get on with it now. We're just ready and we want to get on with it. Get the job done.
Fleetwood had other ideas. A lovely dummy by the scrum half and Mark Wilkinson's try in the corner. Only 17 minutes gone. Hitchin came back strongly towards the end of the first half. Fly half Alex Forrest and left wing Rawling Simon combining well. And Simon tackled just a metre short of the try line. Hitchin were 5-0 down at the interval. Early in the second half, another Fleetwood try by Dave Berry put them in a commanding position. Enhanced by a Steve Burnage drop goal. So, 13-0 down, but Hitchin had a penalty midway into the second half. Rhys Owen setting up captain and second row Dave Marshall. A well-practiced set-piece move for the try. Sheer delight for Hitchin and their army of followers. Les Jeffries' conversion gave the Hertfordshire side hope, but it ended in defeat 13-7.
Oh, I'm gutted. That's all I can say, it hurts.
We tried the hardest. It just didn't seem to be good enough on the day. A couple of bad mistakes, a few nerves in the backs. I was lucky enough to score on a famous turf myself, so I'll be telling everyone about that one. I won't tell them too much about the Fleetwood scoreline.
Over 25 years separated the oldest and youngest in Hitchin's team. Roger Cobley, 45, Danny Thompson, 19.
Well, we didn't get many chances, really. It's a shame, but that's the way it goes, I suppose.
Good side, I think the best side probably won on the day.
Back at Hitchin, they'd laid on hundreds of gallons of beer and erected a huge marquee to celebrate the cup final. And it didn't seem to matter about the result. Everyone enjoyed the experience.
A lovely bunch of people. And incidentally, thanks lads for the Hedgehogs tie.
There's not been a lot of sporting success over the years in Hitchin, so this was one occasion the fans wanted to savour. In the first half, Hitchin had most of the possession but couldn't make anything of it. Fleetwood opened the scoring, John Wright feeding the ball out to Mark Wilkinson for the try. The Hedgehogs tried hard to make amends with some excellent running towards the end of the half. Here, winger Rawling Simon receiving the ball and getting within a few yards of the try line. Then, just a minute later, another fine move from deep inside their own half, Fleetwood putting the brakes on just as it was getting interesting. The game was put out of Hitchin's reach in the second half. Slack marking at the line-out, David Berry scoring the try. Then a drop goal from Steve Burnage just about sealed it. Fleetwood now 13 points ahead. But spurred on by their fans, Hitchin did stage something of a revival. David Marshall powering his way across the line. Les Jeffries made sure of the conversion, but Fleetwood held on to win 13-7. 3 seasons ago, Fleetwood were down in the doldrums, losing week in, week out. So for them at least, Twickenham was a day to enjoy.
Because of the age in their attack, we thought that we could have them in the last 20 minutes, and our game plan was based on that, but the way they came out in the last 20 minutes was unbelievable. I mean, we gave away a few silly penalties in the line-out and on the fringes, but they came at us really hard in the last 20 minutes and we just stuck to our task.
We felt that we were in control of it a lot more than we thought we would be. They weren't as strong as we thought we would. There was a lot of nerves on our side. I think that showed a couple of handling errors. The game sort of toed and froed, but at the end of the day, Fleetwood got the points and Hitchin didn't.
At 44, Roger Cobley became one of the oldest players ever to play in a Twickenham final, but he did pick up a nasty injury above his eye.
My knee was playing up a little bit during the game, and obviously coming off and getting stitched up didn't help. But, good game, hell of an experience to be here, no doubt about that.
Before the game, there were predictions Fleetwood would win